Good morning, all of you, and a warm welcome at Mini MBA in Business Analytics. I am Harshita Kara, and I am very happy to introduce Dr. Kamal Kishore Sharma, our Director General, who is the architect behind all these Mini MBA efforts. Dr. Sharma is an MBA and fellow of IIM Ahmedabad. He has a very rich experience of more than 32 years of working with Indian public sector company, government, multinational corporates, universities, and MBA institutions, startups, and NGOs. Most notably, he has worked as an officer of the Indian Civil Services, as an MD and CEO at multinational company, as a vice chancellor at a large Indian university, and as a founder of multiple startups. We are happy that Dr. Sharma is currently Professor and Director General at Takshila Business School. He is also a prolific speaker and motivator. You would often find him talking about business strategies, leadership, entrepreneurship, and business analytics. He is a strong proponent of experimental learning and simulations in PGDM MBA curriculum. A warm welcome to Dr. Sharma, who would let us know what is in the store for the participants at Mini MBA sessions today and tomorrow, and who is the anchor of these sessions. Thank you, and please welcome Dr. Kamal Kishore Sharma.
Thank you very much, Harshita. Everybody, it gives me immense pleasure to be part of yet another Mini MBA session in the knowledge sharing portfolio of Takshila Business School. In accordance with our tradition to make things simple, straightforward, and easy to understand, and yet give a complete picture and insight of this subject matter, this Mini MBA session will explain data analytics and its immense applications in modern business decision-making and practices. Business analytics is the future. There's a huge need for training almost every business executive in every function so that each one can generate their own business intelligence and take informed decisions. To teach such a subject, we need a person who is a good combination of practice, theory, and teaching pedagogy. So I'm happy to introduce one such academician amongst us, and he is Professor Dr. Sachin Sharma. Sachin, join us here. Sachin is the head of the Department of Business Analytics at Takshila Business School. Dr. Sachin has a teaching experience of more than 15 years across various establishments of the nation. He is associated as a professor in the Department of Computer Engineering at Chandigarh University, Mohali, where he was the master subject coordinator of artificial intelligence and data sciences, having the responsibility of developing the entire course curriculum for postgraduate research scholars. He has also worked as a senior software developer at Classic Informatics at Chandigarh. Completed his graduation in 2004 and MTech in 2009 from Rajasthan, and his PhD in 2017 from SGV University. Professor Sharma, we are glad you are amongst us today. Could you let us know what are all the contents that will be covered in this 2-day span of Mini MBA?
Sir, thanks for introducing me to this session. I am highly privileged to get introduced by Director General of Takshila Business School, a person who is extremely systematic and methodical in every aspect of academics as well as leadership skills. I am happy today to be part of this exercise. On this subject, this 2-day Mini MBA of Business Analytics will cover in a summarized form the entire subject course of Business Analytics of 30-hour duration of our regular PGDM MBA program. This session will be abstract, but it will be an attempt to paint an entire picture, a complete description of the game out of topics which are there in business analytics. It also includes a case study that the participants will be finding very relevant and very clear to show the practical applications of business analytics in our day-to-day life.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. This has been much awaited session as requested by a lot of our alumni and hundreds of other interested viewers. I wish this session will be of immense help to all the viewers by enabling them to develop a perspective on what is the scope and future of business analytics. My best wishes. So without further delay, let's get into the session. The stage is all yours, Dr. Sachin.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll try to make things as simple as possible for our participants of this
All
session.
right, good luck.
Okay, so once again, a very warm welcome to all the participants of this session. Okay, I am Professor Dr. Sachin Sharma, Head of the Department of Business Analytics at Takshila Business School. And these are the contents, the course outline that we will be going to cover in this 2-day mini MBA session. Okay, we'll be starting with big data, the introduction to big data, data science, data analytics, business analytics, and these common definition which we will encounter most, applications of business analytics in modern business practices, introduction to machine learning, regression techniques, which are finding tremendous application, which forms the backbone of all machine learning models, how these are applied to the data, which is relevant in business decision making, and then a case study, which I promise you will finding most relevant as it pertains to everyday life of ours. Coming up to big data, what it is, what is the source, why it is important. These are the key terms. Means big data is the data which is big. It is the data which is massive. Coming up to the next slide. Big data is the data which is too much massive to be handled using traditional programming methods. Okay, see, as far as data processing is concerned, previously what we have are traditional programs which process the data, but big data is so much massive that a standalone computer with a single processor cannot handle that data. Okay, so what we require is data structures like Hadoop, which are built upon algorithms like MapReduce, which are processed over a computer network in which thousands of nodes process that data to derive useful insights from that data. I want to introduce a few facts here. Walmart handles more than 1 million customer transactions per hour. The MasterCard and Visa processed total of 97.1 billion transactions average in a month. These are the stats of 2020. There will be more than 7 billion mobile subscribers in the world till the end of 2021. So these are the few facts that indicates towards the generation of big data. Each of these stats point to the massive amount of information that is generated every minute in the information economy. The other sources includes social media, medical imaging, diagnosis, mobile sensors, ERP systems, wireless sensor nodes, which are deployed in critical deployments like wildlife or in nuclear reactors or what, and the list is endless. So these all generates massive amount of data, and this massive amount of data is stored in the data centers, which are facilitated by cloud service providers. And see, the data centers are those premises. I want to add one line here that data centers are measured in terms of football fields. So basically, the data size is so massive that it is stored in data centers having thousands of nodes powered by uninterrupted power supply, which is again backed up by generators having fuels for about 6 months or an year, okay, which provides uptime of 99.9999, means that much time of an year they are up. The computers shut down only for a few seconds. Okay, these are built up in the buildings which are earthquake resistant. So the cloud data centers are those places, and so much massive data we are generating every minute in this information economy. Coming up to the next slide. Now, big data can be seen as an asset that provides competitive advantage and delivers superior results. We will come to this discussion shortly in this session itself. See, so much data we are having, and so much, we know that so much potential is there in this data, that it is an important aspect to harness the potential which is inside this data. Okay, so what we need is analytics tools and techniques that facilitate us to derive insights out of from this data for assisting us in modern decision-making processes. So big data can be seen as an asset that provides competitive advantage and delivers superior results, superior returns. Coming up to the basic definitions. Now, one thing which is the most important aspect is this, that a lot of literature is present on internet, which tells the definition of these terms in their own way. We are here outlining the terms which are most accepted by several authors and several books. Okay, there are related terms, what we call data science, what we call data analytics, what we call business analytics, what we call business intelligence. Coming up to data science. Data science is an umbrella term. Okay, it is a broad term. It includes all the possible type of analysis operations that can be performed over any type of data. Okay, now data analytics is rather a specific term. It is the analytics of data. Okay, see, data science is more focused towards the historical data, wherein data analytics is more focused towards predictions. Now, coming up to business analytics, it is the analysis of data from the point of view of enterprises. That is, the main agendas are forecasting, market analysis, HR analytics, finance analytics, and the main goal is to making profit. So analytics is a word which is derived from analysis. We have the term data science, we have the term data analytics, we have the term business analytics. All those use cases of data analytics which are relevant in business decision makings comes under the portfolio of business analytics. Moving on to the next slide. This is an explanation of business analytics, the overall process. What we call business analytics as a process. It is the identification of business need. It is the collection of data. It is the analysis of that data. It is to predict or to forecast, then to find the best solution, make a decision, and implementation of that decision. So these are all the key processes that are there in business analytics. Many authors have given the standard practices, which are the best practices accepted in the industry, which gives outline of a formal process of business analytics. We have data analytic life cycle consisting of a number of phases. Each phase has several subphases. We have MAD, magnetic, agile, and deep skills. Then there are CRISP DM, cross reference industry data mining steps. We have several other processes which formally define how an analytic model should proceed inside an organization. However, a raw picture which outlines, which represents a number of such models is identification of business need, collecting data, analysis of data, predicting and forecast, finding best solution, and implement. This is the crux of all the processes, all the process models which are formally outlined, which are there. You will find detailed models over the internet. There are n numbers of such models, but these are all the basic processes. These 6 are the basic processes which are involved. Okay, coming up to the next slide. Companies which use big data analytics are, it is a study by McKinsey. It is the companies who are using big data analytics are 2 times more likely to have top quartile financial performance. These companies are 5 times more likely to make decisions much faster than their competitors. Means, see, it is very critical in case of new startups to make decisions much faster than their competitors. These companies are predicted to be 3 times more likely to execute the decisions as intended, because all these decisions are not the decisions which are discussed over the gut feeling of the key decision makers. These are based upon the facts. These are based upon the analytics outcome. So these decisions are more closer to ground reality as compared to the decisions which are made by purely on the intuition. Okay, 2 times probability of overall growth. So this McKinsey study says that companies which use big data analytics are 2 times more likely to have top quartile, 5 times more likely to make decisions, 3 times more likely to execute the decision, and 2 times more probability of overall growth. See how much important the business analytics is in current context. Coming up to the next slide, how it all started. I just want to give you a brief outline in an abstract way, how it all started, why there was no discussion of big data before 2012, 13. Okay, why all this started and how all this is started. What are the driving forces towards big data analytics we will be discussing here. Just a brief description. Cloud computing is there. What is cloud computing? Is the offering of computing services, computing facilities as a service. See, for most of the people, cloud is a storage. However, the definition of cloud computing from a general perspective is this, that it is the offering of computing facilities as a service. You want software as a service, you can get it. You want hardware as a service, you can get it. You want platform as a service, you can get it. Security as a service, everything you want as a service. So rather than purchasing a car, you can buy a car, you can have a car on rent. That is the model. Okay, so cloud computing facilitates many organizations with computing facilities on a monthly basis or a per user license basis. So that reduce the overall cost of establishment of IT department into any organization. Okay, then cloud storage is there. We need not worry about the storage. It is there. It is safe. Okay, it can be accessed as and when it is required. Cheap hardware. Now see, this is one of the most important terms. What we are having right now is very cheap hardware. See, I want to quote a statement by Gordon Moore, who is the father of semiconductor technology, and he outlines this in the year 1980 itself, that the growth in semiconductor will be going to be tremendous, and we can realize it today. And the author has put it in a straightforward way that we will achieve massive integration over a single IC. We saw this as a reality, and if we compare it with some other industry, see, the growth of semiconductor industry is remarkable. The computer what we have in 1960 and the computer what we have as on today, the cheapest computer what we are having today is 1,000 times more powerful as compared to the computer what we are having in 1960, and it is 1,000 times less cost. It is having a cost 1 by 1,000. Okay, that gives a price performance ratio of 10 raised to power 6. If we have that price performance ratio in automobile industry, then we will be having Mercedes Benz in around 100 rupees. Okay, so that is the price performance ratio that we have achieved in semiconductor industry, that no other industry has even slight match. Okay, then we have content management system. We have softwares which does all of work for us, and we can deploy that software by just clicking next button. Okay, so the software configures as a whole through a wizard. We have such softwares available with us. High bandwidth connectivity, internet is one of the reasons we have 3G, 4G, 5G. And see, Sun Microsystems have changed their tagline. Now network is the computer. Okay, so high bandwidth connectivity enables us to perform massive processing over parallel nodes, where we have computing cluster. A cluster is a group of commodity computers that gives the same performance like that of a supercomputer. Okay, you can check this on top 500 list. Just type on Google top 500. It will give you a list of top 500 supercomputers that we are having, and most of them are cluster computers. Then we have massively parallel processors. These architectures we are having, even what we are having, see, Core i3 i5 processor having 3 cores, 5 cores. So these are standalone computing units which can do parallel processing, which can enable us with parallel processing. We have programming architectures which provides divide and conquer type of a strategy like MapReduce, which divides the entire program into subsets which can be independently and parallelly processed over multiple nodes so as to come out with the results in real time. Then we have programming platforms, programming languages like R and Alteryx, which are purposefully built for these statistical operations, which forms the backbone of any machine learning model. Okay, hopefully I am making myself clear. Coming up to the next slide. Big data is characterized by 5B. Usually you find what are all the characteristics of big data. It is denoted by 5B, which refers to volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. And these are self-explanatory. Volume refers to the quantity of data which we are producing. One estimate is this: since the beginning of time, the total amount of data what we have produced till 2012, we are producing the same data every 3 years onward from the year 2012, and this rate is also growing exponentially. Okay. Second term is velocity. I had already indicated the rate at which it is produced is exponential. We are measuring everything, even your movement through RFID cards. Even when you are moving, Google is capturing everything that it frequently shows you through Google timeline. So data is captured everywhere, every minute. Surveillance cameras are deployed. Okay, your mobile data is is there. Whatever you are surfing on internet is also stored in Google Analytics storage. The third V stands for variety. Okay, the variety includes the types: structured, unstructured, semi-structured, quasi-structured. I'll be coming to this in the very next slide. Okay, so these are all the types of data what we are having. Veracity refers to the authenticity, the genuineness, the quality of the data, and value is measurable in business context. Usually, how important it is. Okay, if the data is related with, say, some analytics, then hopefully it is, say, less important because that includes a number of records. If the data is related with what are all the potential buyers, if the data is related with some organization who is grouping the customers on the basis of their purchasing habits, then that data is very much important data. Okay, so as far as the scale of value of data is concerned, it is somewhat less also. It is very much important data if the data includes what are all the potential buyers of some products. So that data is very much important data. If it is some scientific data, if it is some data which is used in all such applications, all in all, what is there is this: that data has varying values. Value is associated with something which is measurable in business context. Okay, coming up to the next slide. So that refers to the variety, which needs slightly more detailed discussion. What are all the data types which are there in big data? We can classify the types of big data into 4 types. One is structured, semi-structured, quasi-structured, and unstructured. Okay, as far as structured data is concerned, this data is the data which we are having in tabular format. For example, in a spreadsheet or in some MySQL table. Okay, so that data is structured, having a defined structures. In a table, headers are there, and in accordance, the records represents the data entries. So that data is called structured data. Coming up to semi-structured data. The data which is semi-structured usually refers to the data which follows some specific pattern and which have some user-friendly notation, like the data in XML file. Now, XML stands for Extensible Markup Language, which is one way to store data, which is generally used in World Wide Web. that forms of data storage is generally used to disseminate data from, say, a single website to number of websites, like weather forecast, which some general website related with news want to show on their platform, or some tour operator want to show on their platform. So it is the data which is there at some central website, which is usually the websites which are controlled by government or other companies. And that data is distributed across multiple websites in the form of XML feed or RSS feed. Okay, it is the same case when you subscribe to some newspaper websites. The data which is coming to your inbox from that server is in the form of XML data. That is a semi-structured data that can be analyzed using computer programs that will render that data in user-friendly manner onto you. Okay. Then we have quasi-structured data. This is the data which consists of erratic formats, which cannot be processed through programming because it does not follow a similar same consistent structure, but through human corrections. If we employ some workforce, then we can get out some structured data from this quasi-structured data. Then the fourth is unstructured data. And this unstructured data consists of the video files, the audio files, which are generated through surveillance cameras, other such readings, data in versatile formats. So such data, which does not have a proper structure, belongs to unstructured data. And one more thing I want to I wish to add here is this unstructured data is the largest mass of data. Then we have quasi-structured data. Then we have semi-structured data. And at the highest point of the pyramid, we have structured data. So as far as the entire big data is concerned, we have the smallest proportion of structured data, then a little greater of semi-structured data comparatively. And then quasi-structured data, and the largest mass of data in big data, all in all, is unstructured data. Okay, coming up to the next slide. Now, a statement. Data is one of the most critical factors in industry. The management decisions which are made purely on intuition or experience are increasingly being regarded as suboptimal. So in today's era, we cannot do effectively any decision making if it does not involve business analytics, if we does not look into what was there in the past, what trend we can get out of it, what predictions we can make out of it. So business decisions that are based purely on intuition are regarded as suboptimal. Okay. Coming up to the next slide is the emerging big data ecosystem. Okay. And this ecosystem I want to explain to you to let you know what are all the various players which provides us with, which facilitates us with big data. At number one are data devices. These are the devices which are responsible for generating the data. It includes cell phones, GPS, MP3 players, e-books, video games, cable box, ATM, credit card readers, computers, RFID, video surveillance, medical imaging, and the list is just indicative. It is far from being complete, I want to add. So there are these devices which are called data devices that generate data. Then at the second point, we have data collectors. These are the agencies that have deployed these data devices, which are in charge of these data devices. So data collected from these devices gets into some central server, which is under the possession of these data collectors. It includes government, medical, internet, retail, phone, TV, financial, and these organizations which belongs to these industries. Okay. Third is the data aggregators. See, the data aggregators are a small fraction of people, a small industry who is working with gathering of this data from various industry, from various organizations which belongs to the same industry. Okay, so these are the data aggregators. Finally, what we have is data users or buyers, which gets this data from data aggregators. They purchase this data, they then process this data for basically for target marketing or make their business profitable in one way or the other. So these four are the basic players in this jargon. Coming up to the next slide. Okay, now we have this prediction. The McKinsey study forecast that this is the talent gap. The McKinsey study forecast that by the end of the year 2021, the US itself will have a talent gap of 140,000 to 190,000 people with deep analytical talent. Deep analytical talent are the professionals which are at the top of pyramid. I'll let you know what are all other peoples that are involved in this. This does not represent the number of people needed with deep analytical talent. Rather, this is the range that represents the difference between what will be available in the worldwide as compared to what will be needed. Okay. In addition, these estimates only reflect forecasted talent shortages in US itself. The number would be much larger on a global basis in developed as well as developing countries, including India. So these are people having deep analytical talent. At the next level means at the level just below these deep analytical talent, what we have is data savvy professionals. And below that level, what we have is the persons who have technology and business, who are technology and business drivers. So all in all, this is a pyramid. At the top of this MIS is deep analytical talent. And then there are tech savvy professional. And then we have technology and business professionals. So this is three type. These indicates the three type of job roles what we have in business analytics, and this is the talent gap of the toppest level. The people at the second level and the third level have are needed more in numbers as compared to this, as this follows a pyramidal structure. Now coming up to applications of business analytics in modern business practices. Okay, I'll be moving to next slide here. Now, business analytics, applications of business analytics in modern practices. Rather, this is a bifurcation. Business analytics as a subject, business analytics has two main verticals. One is data visualization. Another is getting inference. Means at one part, what we have is some understanding of the visualization of the existing data. This part does not relate to mathematics at all. It is just a visualization. And through subsequent visualization, having experience in visualizing and interpreting, one can come up with the results itself through a inherent feeling by looking at these graphs. Another part is getting inferences. This part is a part which is related with all the mathematics which is behind machine learning models. Okay, so all in all, there are two parts of business analytics. One is data visualization, just to visualize the data. And if there is massive tabular data, and if you have proper visualization tools, okay, like histograms and other types of charts, then you can get a quick understanding of what the visualization is indicating. Okay, but BA is not limited to just visualization. Getting inferences means, see, for example, in a time series, what are the seasonal component, what is the trend component, what is the cyclic component, and based upon those components, forecasting what is required is the part of getting explicit inferences from mathematical models, which includes machine learning. Okay, as far as data visualization is concerned, there are traditional kind of visualization that includes bar charts, line charts, histograms, etc., which are there in tradition, which are there with us when we use Excel, Microsoft Excel. However, R is a specialized tools which comes up with much more beyond bar plots and line charts. It comes with box plots that gives you an indication of what is the top quartile, what is the lower quartile, means lower 25%, upper 25%, and the middle 50% with mean values. So box plot is one of the most important type of plot that will give you much greater insight. And we will be discussing about box plots more when we discuss case study, okay, in tomorrow's session. And I promise that this case study will give you a complete insight of what is the basis of machine learning models and how the machine learning models can be used to forecast. Okay, then we have, see, another type of plot is word cloud. Means it will generate a word cloud over an entire document set, which gives you an indication what are all the keywords that are used most often into this, in this entire text body. Okay, so that is about data visualization, which is one part of business analytics, visualizing this data through graphs and get insight out of from the graph. Okay, and as I had already said, R is providing you with versatile graphs. We have R included in our business analytics course that we used to teach our regular PGDM students. Okay. Now, second part is the part which is related with machine learning and machine learning models. And the basis of machine learning models, there are several mathematical techniques, but I am including here in this discussion two of the most basic and fundamental type of technique, one of which is called regression, another is called classification. Okay, we'll come into this description shortly, but for now, just I want to state here that regression and classification are the two basic techniques which forms the backbone of most of the machine learning models. Okay, coming up to the next slide. Getting inferences. How to get inferences? Machine learning algorithms. These are machine learning, basically machine learning programs that require data for learning. I want to outline here that there are, we can broadly classify computer programs in two categories. One of which is called normal ordinary program, and another is a machine learning program. Okay, so we can broadly classify any kind of any computer program, all the computer programs into two types, one of which is a ordinary program, normal program, and another is a machine learning program. What is the difference? The difference is this, that a normal program follows a sequence, and based upon certain condition, it takes some decisions. Okay, suppose there is a program which checks the value of humidity, which checks the value of temperature and then controls the fan speed correspondingly. Okay, so that program is somewhat normal program. We just make a flow that if these values are this, then the fan speed should be this. However, there are machine learning program. Okay, and the machine learning program is the program when it is developed, it is a basic skeleton only. And when the machine learning program is provided with data, we call it the training of the program, training of the model. And then once the model is trained, what we supply to the model is called test data, and the program comes up with the result. But it takes at input the test data, the data set, the training data, the data set which we provide to the program before the program completes in its entirety is called the training data. And once the program is trained, the data which we are giving to the program is called test data. Okay, so regression and classification are basically two techniques. We are discussing, see, regression. What is regression and what is classification? Regression is one target variable which is usually continuous. It may be discrete also, but it is usually continuous. And there are n independent variables. Okay, don't worry if you do not get the definition right now, because the very next slide will show you what is regression. It is one target variable continuous, which is usually continuous. Means one target variable is, say for example, weight of person, and there are n independent variables, and the independent variable might be including the height of the person. So what is the variation of weight in accordance with height is some regression problem. Means we discuss how one target variable is dependent upon n independent variables. Then we have classification, in which we are labeling the data. Means usually two class classifier, yes or no, 0 or 1. whether or not a person will buy an insurance, whether or not he will be purchasing he will be purchasing a car in this year. So such kind of problems in which the answer is yes or no, or class is the classification problem. Okay, discussing more about it, about regression, coming up to the next slide. Okay, so about regression, application of regression. Basically, it is a linear model. Okay, sigmoid model is also there if we talk about logistic regression, but we'll be leaving this discussion where we'll talking about the linear model of regression. As I had explained you previously, in the previous slide itself, regression is how one variable is dependent upon an independent variable. Now, example is gold price. So gold price is usually dependent upon the stock market index, the RBI interest rate, the real estate scenario, price of crude oil, okay, globally. So gold price is a dependent variable, and these all are independent variable, and we just try to figure it out how the gold price is variating along with these parameters. Suppose we have collected, or some agency has collected this data that this is the gold price and the value of these parameters is like this, and this is, they had aggregated this in a tabular form, and we have this massive data which is captured over, say for example, 10 years or 20 years. Then we can analyze that data and we try to figure out what is the trend of variation in gold prices with these independent variable. Such problems belongs to the regression, which is the representative class of problems. Most of the problems of business analytics means how gold price is dependent upon stock market, RBI, and others, say other such independent variable. Another example is estimated price of a house. For example, there is massive data which is, you can find such data over the internet. Estimated price of a house is dependent upon the pin code, means the locality, the construction age of the house, the amenities there in the house, the crime index of that particular city, and there might be some other independent factors. Okay, so estimated price of an house is dependent upon all those factors. Then as far as the use case in HR is concerned, the retention and attrition rate of employees based upon the salary of employee, the skill level, the market talent gap of a particular skill. So these are the parameters over which the retention or attrition rate of the employee is dependent. Okay, this is one another example of regression, how the retention rate and how the attrition rate is dependent upon these. Calculation of credit score of a person depending upon the employee's salary, organization, years of service, past records, etc. Body mass index, that just I had previously indicated, weight of the person in accordance with his her height given the data of a particular state. Means people from different states have different body types. So given a data of one particular state, how the weight of the person is variating with her or his height is the BMI data, body mass index data. So that can be also modeled using a using a linear model of regression. Score of runs in cricket test, one day, 2020, depending upon the pitch type, player form, player record, bowler record, etc. What will be the maximum score or the minimum score? What is the probability of win? Okay, how much is the predicted score of the run in an inning? It can be given by regression model. So you can see through this slide itself, you can see how versatile is the application of regression. Means whatever type of data it is, whatever industry the data belongs to, you can through business analytics, you can apply a linear model over that data to get useful insight how one variable is dependent upon other variables. Okay, and see, we can figure this out using mathematical techniques, that there is a dependent variable, there are n independent variables. What among the n independent variables are those which are affecting most? What are those independent variables which do not have any impact? What are all the parameters means independent variables which have moderate impact. So this all analysis we can do through regression models provided to us through R, or there are certain other programming platforms. R I am including here because R is a language which is purposefully built for this task, to implement analytics over the data sets. Coming up to the next slide is applications of classification. Okay, binary model, buying decision. Whether or not the customer will buy a health insurance given parameters like salary, family type, pandemic conditions. So yes or no, buying decision. Buying or selling of stocks. Okay, these buying or selling decision on stocks given the price fluctuations and other parameters. Customer classification based upon the buying habits and interest. The profiles can be classified as type 1 or type 2, and target advertisements will be shown to them. Flower species identification means based upon the sepals and petals measurement data, whether the flower is of type 1 or type 2, certain flowers which looks identical. However, they belongs to two such species, some scientific analysis. For example, I want to include here Setosa and versicolor are two species of flowers which look almost same, but using sepals and petals measurements, if you are having, then you can train a machine learning models over this classification to facilitate you with smart farming. What are all the flowers you are needed? What are something that you not need to differentiate a normal crop from some weed, which are unwanted crop. A weed is an unwanted crop grown in a field. So a binary classifier is there which classify a plant which is of interest with a weed which is an unwanted plant from the farm. Okay, so these smart farming methods also include this machine learning classifier based upon classification. Binary classifier, one model is support vector machine which can be implemented as a binary classifier. Okay, now another use case is, which is of importance in computer industry, is checking of duplicates or non-duplicates. Now bug reports, I want to outline here this use case. Bug reports are a feature of most of the modern softwares. When the software crashes or malfunctions, then you can write a bug report. Bug report is a feature which is associated with beta versions of the software. Now beta versions of the software are the unstable versions. What we mean by a beta version of the software are those versions which are released to market before thorough testing. Okay, and in all such beta versions, it is very much essential to facilitate, to augment, to supply along with this beta software, the bug report mechanism. So several bug reports in case of open source software, if it is, are provided to central bug repository when the people use that software all across, if they are on the other side of the globe. Thousands of bug reports are posted by users in case if there is some bug, and many of which corresponds to the same bug. So we have a machine learning program which can classify these bug reports as being a duplicate report or a unique report corresponding to a unique bug. So such reports, such machine learning classifiers we are having. Okay, so this is one another application of classification models. Then we have fault and intrusion detection system, means credit card transactions classifications, whether the credit card transaction is a normal transaction or it is corresponding to some fraud. Network security, intrusion detection system, anomaly detection system, whether it is an anomaly or it is a normal process. So all such type of use cases, all such type of applications belongs to classification. Okay, and once we have the data which are trained, once we have the data through which we can train a machine learning classifier, we can come up with a certain mechanism that on the basis of previous data, the machine will take the program will take a decision to do something or not to do something. So this classification itself is finding tremendous application in almost all verticals of modern society. Now, regression case study. Okay, regression case study. I presume we will continue this session tomorrow to discuss this linear case study. Okay, so that is all about this first session of this 2-day mini MBA program. The applications of classification, the applications of regression, okay, and how it all started, what are the enabling technologies that have paved the way, what we are standing at this point of time, looking to this massive body of data, trying to get useful insight out of it, and we have done it successfully. We have established standard procedures and techniques which are very much important in any of the higher study curriculum which teaches the students to make to prepare them for modern business organizations. That is all for this session.